So, some pretty exciting news from the second lady of the United States, which I know we were all waiting to hear what Usha Vance had to say. We are very excited to share the news that Usha is pregnant with our fourth child, a boy. The baby and Usha are doing well, and we are looking forward to welcoming him in late July. During this exciting and hectic time, we are particularly grateful for the military doctors who take excellent care of our family and the staff members who do so much to ensure that we can serve the country while enjoying a wonderful life with our children. So Erica Kirk is somewhere crashing out right now.
I was going to say, like, if we subscribe to the J.D. Vance and Erica Kirk affair narrative, who do we think Usha is? Perhaps that's a crass question.
Affaritive.
Affaritive.
Affair narrative. The affair.
The
Mhm.
timing works out to where the conception may have happened right around the time that Charlie Kirk died. The baby's due at the end of July. It's close. It's close. Maybe it's Charlie Kirk's. Maybe they did a wife swap thing.
What if
Maybe Charlie Kirk is being reborn as the kid?
That's it. That's got to be it.
the kid, yeah, immediately come. Welcome back, Mr. Kirk.
What do we know? What does we? How are they in socially free? Everything I can need, oh I need, oh I need, oh I need, oh what does we? Oh what does we? Oh what does we? Oh what do we?
Well, just wanted to, pretty exciting that there's a fourth Vance. We're all looking forward to that. Let me see if I can find this tweet that this guy sent.
It's an advance, you might say, because they're adding a Vance.
Oh no. Oh.
No, honestly, like that's not the when you mentioned Usha Vance, like I expected, like, I don't know, JD Vance announcing that, I finally convinced my wife to convert to Catholicism or something.
Oh no, that would be way more depressing.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. I found it. This is a guy. This is the account on Twitter, Connor Eats Pants, who responding to JD Vance ratioed the vice president recently. They got in a back and forth on Twitter, and JD stopped replying after this tweet, which he got ratioed. Quote, JD, log back in, pussy. Keep tweeting. You're not waking anyone up. We know Usha sleeps in the other room. My son plays Roblox with your boys, by the way. Great kids. Usha did a good job keeping your influence out. Not hard, though, with how emotionally detached you are.
Damn. Good.
I did see a little bit of that exchange. It's we talk about how detached our electeds are from their constituents, the people they claim to be representing. But it's nice to know that we can get our licks in here and there.
And JD stopped replying after that, which means it hurt his feelings. I think that's really good.
I wonder if it's like an Elon Musk thing where like they don't actually even have sex. It's just a done in a lab, She's too good looking for him. I don't get it.
Well, I don't know much about Usha. We didn't really talk about her on our Hillbilly Elegy episode. Folks, go back and listen to our Hillbilly Elegy episode if you want to understand JD Vance. Just Dance Vance, if you will.
He's an Orzhov man. That's the one thing I respect about him.
Well, the day we are recording is the 20th. You will be listening to this on the 21st, as we know all of you listen within mere seconds of our drops. That's not true according to our metrics, but it should be. So, But Donald Trump and JD Vance have been in the White House for a year now.
Congratulations.
Or 5 years for Donald Trump, I suppose. Broken up a little bit. How are we feeling, folks? We're 25% of the way through Trump 2. Or like 90% through if you subscribe to Jen's theory that Trump is going to die any day now.
Sometime this year. Sometime we should do like a death poll or whatever, like by squares. It'd be fun.
It's I saw his press conference he gave today. I don't know if you all saw it, where he started talking about how he could have been a Major League Baseball player.
Trump?
Yeah. He said, my mom said I could have been a Major League Baseball player. I was one of the best baseball players in New York City when I was young, which is, that's insane. And then he says, and near our baseball court or whatever was a building with bars on it, and I said, "Mom, what's that?" And she said, "It's an asylum." And then he explained to the White House press corps what an asylum was.
Well, to be fair, they don't exist anymore. So,
Not as we understand them.
Trump, the same guy who thinks that you are born with a finite amount of energy, and that if you exercise too much, you will use it up early. That man thinks he could have been a professional athlete. I love
That
it.
explains why he's sitting on his ass all the time.
Yeah,
I've
he's
always
saving it.
loved that. Like, I honestly, that is like a fucking 12th century monk like
Yeah.
theory about how like human vitality works that like just somehow gets used for years but no one questions. The fact that Trump got told that at some point in his life, honestly, it is more likely that that's the reason he did not go to war and he dodged the draft than actually not wanting to kill people. He was like, but my finite energy.
I don't want to use it up over there.
The reason he
Jungles.
did the only cool thing he's ever done in his entire life.
Is
I'd
dodge
keel
the
over in
draft.
1985 if I went to war. I'm just doing this for my own self-preservation. Anybody would do it.
God, we should have sent him there.
Well, how are we feeling on this auspicious day?
Pretty bad. I mean, he's invaded Minnesota. I'm seeing reports that ICE is pretty active in Michigan as well, Dearborn and elsewhere. Was about the only thing that's that I'm seeing positive in the news lately is acts of some pretty heroic resistance from people on the ground, and people like you wouldn't expect to be out in the streets, like literally just randos in bathrobes showing up, telling ICE agents to fuck off, filming them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Lenore. I've been watching them too. I don't even know who that. I forget his name. Jeremy, some Nazi that showed up there this weekend that got pelted with
I think Jake
water
Long.
balloons.
Jake
No,
Lang.
that's-
Jake
that's-
Jake
yeah.
Long
Jake
is
the American Dragon.
American
Jake Lang.
Grand Dragon. Jake Lang.
That's good. That's good.
I didn't know who he was. But apparently he's a J6 Nazi. Thought he could show up there and I don't know, throw up fascist salutes and stuff. And I'm glad that it's actually. I mean, I think they should have actually like hurt him, but it's nice that they were able to embarrass him and run him off without actually like beating the shit out of him, which is what he probably deserved. But the embarrassment of it all looks like it did probably just as good a job.
He did at the end there catch a couple licks.
Right.
He was bleeding from his face when he finally got away. But
Yeah.
you know, I hopefully he'll think twice showing up again. There was also, I mean, yeah, some really bold protests. People are getting real pissed because there was a protest in Minnesota at a church, but the church was, the pastor was a guy who was working for ICE and like turning people into ICE and making
Like a
his
field
church.
director. Yeah, like
Right.
he had a higher position. Yeah.
Right. So like, and there was very devout people, including pastors and clergy, involved in the protest. Trump is calling it, and Fox News is calling it like an attack on Christianity.
Sure. Of
I
course.
hate to ever hand anything to John Ossoff, the senator from Georgia, because his own track record on immigration is flawed. But he did give a fairly good response today, just like with a bunch of ministers basically being like, you know, just basically quoting what the Bible says about refugees, which, like, you know, wish it came from a better voice. Wish he had thought of that when he voted for the Laken Riley Act.
Exactly. I was just about to bring that up.
So that is like the internal thing, but like, yeah, things are getting pretty intense out there. I've heard from a couple sources, including some. It sounds like way too journalistic to say inside sources. Some people on the ground will say, some people I know, that ICE is gearing up for a big operation in Philadelphia. They are. I don't think they understand what they're going to deal with. If they think Minneapolis is bad.
Right.
Oh, the Philadelphia sports hooligans are gonna fucking eat them alive.
Yeah, Philly riots when they're happy. This is going to be a mess. Good for them.
No, I love, there's the classic Philly riots whether they win or lose. And they said, that's not true. We only riot when we win. No, the fucking like gang from It's Always Sunny is going to like pull an elaborate trap on ICE and like drop them in a spike pit. That needs Rob Mack and Glenn Howerton and all of y'all, Danny DeVito, I'm going to need y'all to make an episode just about that on the next
Comrade
season.
DeVito, come on the pod.
Honestly, I was at a protest he was at once. I mean, way far away from him. But he was at the D.C. March for Palestine.
The gang sticks it to the Gestapo.
They did have an episode where they inadvertently caused January 6th, which was pretty funny. That was pretty amusing. And in that same episode, Frank is running an underground barber shop, and he gives Rudy Giuliani hair dye, which leads to the leaking hair fiasco.
That's so good.
Because he's just giving him like oil or something. It's so fucking stupid. Anyway, we're gonna open up today with a review of just the crimes of Donald Trump that were laid out very succinctly by Mehdi Hassan of Zetio. And other things, but now Zetio is his main place. Lenore, I'm sending a paragraph to the chat. It's a long paragraph, but if you would just read it off, I think it's useful. I think it's a jumping off point for conversation, and also I want to see if he missed anything that we can follow up on.
Let's see. Here we go. This is a president who, in the space of 12 months, in just his first year back in office, has defied the Supreme Court, ignored more than 50 court rulings, tried to ban birthright citizenship, pardoned nearly 1,600 January 6 rioters, called for the prosecution of his political opponents, opened a criminal investigation into the chair of the Federal Reserve, illegally evoked the Alien Enemies Act, threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act, empowered ICE to deport, detain, and kill U.S. citizens, sent migrants to be tortured in El Salvador, suspended immigrant visas for applicants from 75 countries, illegally deployed the National Guard to Democratic-run cities against the objections of state officials, searched a reporter's home and seized her phone and laptops, called for the sacking of late-night comedians, sued universities, media organizations, and tech companies, withdrew the U.S. from 66 international treaties and organizations, withdrew the U.S. from the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Accords, again, bombed 7 different countries on 3 different continents, conducted at least 35 airstrikes on boats in the Caribbean Sea and Eastern Pacific, killing more than 100 people, kidnapped the president of Venezuela and declared himself acting president of that country, greenlit an Israeli-made famine in Gaza, threatened to conquer or annex Greenland, Panama, and even Canada, berated the president of Ukraine in the Oval Office, turned our European allies against us, prioritized white South Africans for refugee resettlement, fired the heads of independent agencies, and purged inspectors general from government departments. Whew. Refused to release the Epstein files, dropped the number of vaccines that are officially recommended for every child, accepted a $400 million luxury jet from Qatar, increased his personal net worth by $3 billion, refused to rule out a third term, announced the shuttering of the Department of Education, dismantled USAID, contributing to the deaths of 600,000 people, and said the only limits on his presidential powers are his own mind and morality. Well, if his mind is a limit on his presidential powers, I imagine that they're shrinking day by day.
Pretty good list. Did Mehdi miss anything?
Let's see. Not that I'm aware of.
No fault of his own. It's a large list here. There's a lot of shit going on there, y'all. I mean, and it's intensifying. I mean, I just was scrolling Trump's Truth Social because I do that every week or so just to see what he's been posting.
I didn't see any trans stuff in here, but I know like he's some of the Supreme Court stuff covers that, I imagine.
Yeah, Trump did sign an executive order, signed some executive order around transgender rights, around education. He's also, does he mention trying to abolish the Department of Education in here?
Toward the end there, yeah.
Okay.
I also know that like he's defying the Supreme Court and whatnot. This is a Supreme Court that is already very heavily stacked in his favor.
Right. But I don't know, looking at Truth Social, Trump has he's been doing this for a while, but especially the last 12 hours has been on this tear, tweeting a bunch about Somalians again, specifically around these ghost daycares that apparently exist. They don't. And the new thing they're saying now is, we don't think Somalians would be nearly this smart enough to come up with this on their own. There must be darker forces at play.
Wow.
To steal, again, $9 billion is what they're claiming Somalians alone have taken in the state of Minnesota over the last couple of years, which is more than half, I believe, the state's budget. You think Somalians alone in Minnesota have taken more than half the money the state spends on a given year. And you figured it out because one of your guys showed up to a daycare and they wouldn't let you in.
Yeah, it's not even a question of intelligence. It's a question of capacity. You show me a single formation of people that's capable of stealing that amount of money that isn't a state actor or a high finance jackass in some way.
If they could do that, they would not be getting deported right now. They would like have their own army and shit like that. Like, come on, $9 billion.
And you know what? More power to them.
Yeah, no,
good for them.
I think we said that last week. We were like,
Yeah.
how much would that rule if they actually did pull that off? But they didn't because it's fucking stupid. And Trump is now saying that he believes Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar should be arrested.
Well, Tim Walz, wrote a couple of strongly worded letters, so
yeah.
shots fired.
Yeah, Tim Walz is a real. I mean, he's not a disappointment to me in the sense of I'm not surprised remotely, having followed his career and whatnot. But he is disappointing a lot of like well-meaning but underinformed MSNBC liberals right now.
Which is, I mean, good. They should be disappointed. Like, I'm glad that it's unrealistic to have had higher expectations, but I think, and maybe I'm giving well-meaning liberals too much credit here, because I feel like every time something like this happens, I'm like, see, don't you get it? And so maybe this is a teachable moment if we want to use the liberal language. It is an example that we can continue to point to be like, and I think Tim Walz seems like a nice enough guy. Like, he seems, as far as humans go, like a likable person. He seems like he actually cares about his family, which is unfortunately better than a lot of politicians, better than a lot of people we see in the public sphere or whatever. But yeah, just the I think people see it as cowardice. But I think we understand that it's more like complicity in these fascist actions or whatever. The inability of the Democrats to actually stand up against any of this. But, I think that it's something that we, as people to the left of the Democrats, can and should use as an example of showing how we can't work within the system and how the system is set up to continue to do these things, even when well-meaning people are put into a higher office. They are not willing to actually fight for us.
Agreed. Like, I just have to wonder, like, how many. I mean, we just had that funding bill passed the House that gives like $3 billion and change more to Israel, which, again, I thought liberals would be more. I thought liberals would care more about Palestine now that it's a Republican prosecuting the genocide, but apparently not. Like, how many of those votes does it take people to flip? How many votes to continue funding ICE, which people are rightly pointing out as a fascist militia? Will it take for people to flip? Like, Cory Booker has been out here saying, hey, we need to give ICE more money for training, more money for body cameras, which I will, again and again, I will recommend people go read Alec Carcassonne's Propaganda. This is the exact same sort of...
At very least, listen to our episode with him.
Yeah, it's the exact same sort of argument that has been used for cops for the past century and change. And again, they've killed more and more people every year over year since Ferguson. Yeah. Right? We know how these dynamics work, and they're playing out in real time and sped up with the advent of ICE.
Yes. That drives me fucking insane. This they need like body cameras thing. It's like Jonathan Ross was filming when he killed Renee Good. Like, one of the angles we have is from his phone, right? We have several angles of the killing, 3 or 4. I wouldn't be opposed to some more cameras that were open to the public for inside of these facilities where they're holding people. But there's a reason that they don't have those, right? But like in the field, they're just using that to fucking like identify people. They don't care. And their apparatus is going to do one of two things. Either they're going to celebrate the wanton murder, or sometimes simultaneously, they're going to just say, yeah, no, you don't see what you see. Like, you don't see what you see. One hates to hand it to George Orwell, but like, unfortunately, there is something Orwellian about that in the like classic sense of like, truth is lies. Like, they just tell you don't see what you see. But like,
This is why, and this is tangential, but that is the effect of AI that I feared more than like deep fakes of your favorite politician saying slurs or something. Right? Is the specter now that generative AI is like really really good and increasingly indistinguishable from reality? The specter of the specter of the possibility that something heinous that you see is just AI generated, right? They can just point at something and say, "Oh, that's fake," and it's increasingly easier to create such fakes, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it increasingly delegitimizes any objective reality.
Hmm. I
Agents,
want to.
please contact me about my not ICE agents. ICE agents, please do not contact me. Um, literary agents, please contact me
Mm,
about my upcoming collection that is titled "AI Art Makes Me Want to Kill Myself."
mm,
So if this,
snappy.
yes, it is. Though I've been told I may be forced to change the name, but I'm holding to it as hard as I can because it makes me happy.
AI stands for auto-immolation.
I
It
honestly
does
thought you
not.
were gonna say fart. AI art makes me want to fart. I don't
No,
know. I
it
like
does
the
not do
rhyme there.
that.
You know.
It does not do that. It makes me. It more so makes. Look, it's a line the character says that's telling the stories. It's not me per se,
Right,
even
right,
if it
right.
is me per se.
I wanted to piggyback on something Lenore mentioned a minute ago, where she was saying that now that it is Trump in charge of the overseeing the genocide in Palestine, and she was hopeful that Democrats would be more willing to stand up against it, and it's very disappointing to see that they're not. And I mean, I agree, right? Like the Democrats in office obviously are very beholden to Israeli interests for a lot of reasons, financial and otherwise. But I think we all had a little more hope for just your average American that identifies as a Democrat. And shameless plug, when I was talking to Greg Stoker yesterday,
Mm.
a big point that he made was that Americans do not care about foreign policy. We absolutely like fundamentally do not perceive these things as really affecting us until it's like our boys out there dying. And because that doesn't really happen in very large numbers anymore, and when it does, you can make a big deal out of it, like Benghazi or whatever, like they latched onto when a few people die because of a mistake that was made in the field. It's so rare to have American casualties in the destruction that we create all over the world that it's hard to make Americans care about it. And I think that's another thing that's like our job as as communists, but also like as people that make the content that we do, is we have to really drive home that idea of the imperial boomerang. And people need to understand that, like, because of the things that the IDF does, our cops are able to do those same things. And I think that the AI stuff is a good example of that, and that these are, again, I hate the term, but like these are teachable moments, and we can really try to like show people the way that these things are connected, and that I'm sorry, but you do actually have to care about when we kill people overseas, even if you don't care about those people, because it's soon going to be your neighbors and probably you eventually.
I will say the average Democrat voter, according to Gallup, as of 2025, when they were polled, they were asked, "Do your sympathies lie more with Israelis, Palestinians, or not, or you're not sure?"
Mm-hmm.
59% said Palestinians, 21% said Israelis.
Mm.
The rest said they weren't sure. That's up from, it was like 14% Palestinians just a few years ago.
And
So
all it
that is
took
a
was a genocide.
right.
Yeah.
That now that is a significant shift in the voter base. It is
Yeah.
not remotely a enough. 59% is still, in my opinion, pretty pathetic.
Yeah.
But like, but certainly it's not 59% of Democrats in Congress. So
Mhm.
I always wonder how much does, I mean, the shifts in consciousness obviously matter, but like, where do they materialize? Which is something we'll talk about a little with the next article, which we don't have to get into just yet. But the shifts in consciousness have to materialize in some way, because just being against something in theory is not going to make things happen. Though it's obviously a first step, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I will point out, I don't know how deeply we're going to get in this, but as a fellow daughter of Texas, I feel obligated to point this out. You see Judge Matthew Kacsmaryk in the news again?
No, I did not.
Mm-mm.
He just ruled that I believe in Amarillo there's a university that is in fact allowed to ban drag shows now.
No.
Yeah, it's some First Amendment bullshit that says, okay, well, this institution has this like private forum that they maintain, that they can allow or disallow performances that are in a viewpoint neutral fashion, and it's not even viewpoint neutral. The principal of this school himself admitted that he had received no complaints about the drag show when he brought the case against it. And it's the same person, Kazmarek is, incidentally, who issued that ban on mifepristone that got overturned, thankfully, is the same guy who was in favor of the Remain in Mexico policy. Like, he's in the news all the time because people like the Alliance Defending Freedom and other reactionary groups know to try their cases in his district because he's a very, very far-right Trump appointee. So, I mean...
my college in 2019, parents were able to lobby to get, like, Rocky Horror banned from our college and, like, shit like that. It was like a big Halloween thing we did every year.
Yeah, which as far as it's not even that transgressive anymore.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, Rocky Horror, it wasn't just we watched the movie, it was like also a production on stage. I would say what's happening on stage was a touch more transgressive than what happens in the film.
Sure.
But also it's like an 18 plus show with, it's fucking whatever. This is the type of shit that, like, you know, it often feels silly to try to be like, oh, well, we're going to, like, argue about, people are like, why are you arguing about, like, drag brunches or whatever? And it's like, well, because this is part of, like, I don't know, an increasing tide of, like, stripping rights from people.
Yeah, this is like First Amendment perverts will tell you, oh, like the First Amendment protects unpopular speech, and that's why it has to be defended so hard. And then the unpopular speech that they choose to defend is always the right to say slurs and to denigrate, like, minorities and whatnot, right? Like, when, unpopular speech is, ideally it should mean, forms of expression by niche, by marginalized communities, in spaces that otherwise wouldn't have traction in the public sphere.
Or Takes Like Mine, that Cats 2019 is actually a film that everybody should see.
I mean, you're
right?
not alone in that.
It should be legal to say under the First Amendment, but I also have to deal with the social repercussions that come with that.
Did you actually see that?
Did I see Cats?
Yeah.
I did, and I think that everyone should see it so that be as tormented by it as I am.
Oh, okay. I didn't know how earnest you were, like, enjoying it.
I saw the movie in theaters. Me and my friends were the only ones in the theater, which is the ideal way to see Cats.
In any movie, really.
Version of The Great Gatsby where Jacob goes, it's a fine film, everybody ought to see it.
Yep. We literally we each brought a flask of vodka in, and we're just openly drinking it in the theater. And I have since watched Cats another 3 times. I have seen Cats 4 times in my life. Wow. I don't know what it is about that movie. It does something to my brain. I hate it so much, but it fascinates me, and I want to solve why they thought it was a good idea.
I have a good cosplayer friend who can report that exact same dynamic. This person watched it, like, hate watched it, intended to at first, and then watched it again and again and again, and is now one of that movie's biggest shooters.
Let me get to the second article we have here. This was written today, or at least published today, by Derek Johnson, who is the president of the NAACP, which has been, as liberal an organization as it is, their lawsuits, their legal defenses, quite important on any kind of checks on the administration. I do have respect for the work they do, even if I have some disagreements with them, which we will get into momentarily. Interested, and this is kind of, I'm going to link this and the above article in the show notes. This is a pared down version of the article. I have tried to preserve what he was saying with it, but for the sake of brevity, I have cut some of it. Once again, published by Zetio. They're doing some really good work over there. I don't agree with everything they publish, but I think there's some actually genuinely good independent media over there. Even if their morning report refers to Trump as the Cheeto, which is really frustrating to me and, like, makes it almost impossible to read, even though it is some of genuinely the best, like, daily summation reporting that's out there.
You know what? The more democratized and informal this stuff gets, you're going to see that shit.
Yeah. Well,
I prefer Cheeto to Drumpf. I hate it when I see that
Drumpf was crazy. I still think the Peach Poobah is the best one. That's the one I made up.
I've always been partial to Mango Mussolini.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I like making up stuff that seems like something they would say. Okay, here we go. Quote, just last week, Donald Trump suggested that we shouldn't even have a midterm election, which is true. He has said that twice in the last 2 weeks. Since being inaugurated 1 year ago, Donald Trump has seen his net worth more than double from 2.3 billion to 6.7 billion. Last year alone, our nation's wealthiest billionaires got $698 billion richer, and they will continue to hoard more wealth until this corrupt administration, under this corrupt administration, as the rest of the American people get robbed. As we mark 1 year of Trump's return to the White House, let's take a look at how he's been making his cronies richer at your expense. First, making America sick again. Trump's big, beautiful bill has been one big, beautiful success for the top 1% and literally no one else. By cutting over $1 trillion from Medicaid, Medicare, and the Affordable Care Act, which will result in 10 million people losing health insurance, Trump has been able to give wealthy individuals and large corporations trillions in tax cuts. In other words, he has robbed you of your health care so his rich supporters pay less in taxes. It's sick, it's cruel. These are programs that we have been paying into our entire careers. It is a crisis spiraling out of control, with rural hospitals closing, maternity care deserts expanding, and Black women, particularly in the South, bearing the brunt of restricted reproductive health policies. Now, with Trump's unwillingness to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits and Congress falling in line, more will suffer and die. An estimated 7.3 million people will lose subsidized ACA coverage, with 4.8 million becoming uninsured and another 24 million seeing their health insurance premiums skyrocket.
Can't confirm, mine has quadrupled.
Yeah. In the Black community alone, more than 170,000 adults will lose healthcare coverage across 10 major metro areas, and more than 200 people will die unnecessarily every year because of Trump's attacks on healthcare. This is some independent research they were doing that basically kind of minimum possible numbers here. And it also, that again, is across 10 major metro areas, not the entire United States. I want to add too, he doesn't go into it here. The RFK Jr. shit alone, I mean, with the vaccine cutting, with the slashing of research, with the slashing of proper medical reporting, with the firing of CDC staff, getting out of the World Health Organization, and now like so clearly in bed with the like beef and dairy industry, it's really remarkable. Like the shit they're posting about whole milk all the time now. RFK Jr. posting steak constantly. RFK Jr. doing a commercial for Steak and Shake. And because they use beef tallow in their fries, and now and now on the food pyramid recommending more beef and more milk. And the updated food pyramid, by the way, also getting rid of recommendations to only have 1 or 2 drinks a day, saying that alcohol is an important social lubricant. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fucking money that alcohol companies have just directly donated to
Make America drunk again.
It's the opposite. This is the 1920s. But it's the opposite. It's the opposite of prohibition. We got to drink more.
I love it.
So that's the end of that section. What are we thinking?
I tell you what, like I can personally attest to the increasing presence of the beef tallow shit in our lives. Like having just driven across the country and back this past week, there is billboard after billboard of Steak and Shake advertising their fucking beef tallow fries. There's one that was ripping off Chick-fil-A of all things. Like there's a cow or something that's like. I'm saying eat more tallow.
Can I ask a dumb vegetarian question? What is beef tallow? Is it fat? Is it just rendered fat?
As I understand it, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically the melted down rendered fat from like animals.
Okay.
It's more often used to like, it's like when they make like candles and shit like that out of like animal fat, it's typically made out of the tallow.
It's like Fight Club. Yeah, I'm making soap out of it.
You can use it. You can use it to like cook things. It is in some cases lower calorie than certain types of oil, like the worst types of like corn based oil and stuff like that. It is, however, much higher in certain types of fats and trans fats, and it's like. I mean, I don't want to be like, oh, yeah, like we got to stick to our healthy fried food. Like there is no way to fried food that is healthy. It just isn't. There are better and worse ways. And beef tallow is on the average. Having talked to some medical professionals about this, because I was curious, I actually went directly to a few people. They said it's like it's not like dramatically worse than vegetable oil health wise. It's just
Mhm.
like kind of a wash, but it gives a lot more money to the beef and dairy industries.
Right, right.
And it's obviously less, let's say, less environmentally sustainable, which they
Oh.
fucking love. Also a vegetarian over here, so leads to challenges. Can't go to Steak and Shake, that's for sure. Not that I could eat anything there before.
I was like, why would you?
Their
That's
fries are good. I'm not kidding. Their fries were good before they started using beef tallow. Those
that's
long
one of the
fries.
few like fast food places that's like made me sick. Like it's just so buttery.
Well, the next thing is trashing our air again. Is the name of this
Mm.
next section. The AI boom has presented Trump with an unprecedented opportunity to rob us of clean air because there's a profit to be made. Also, kind of ironic, considering the lack of healthcare.
AI stands for airborne illness.
Yeah. Let's give us a real world example out of Tennessee. Elon Musk recently waltzed into a predominantly black Memphis community and built a gargantuan supercomputer for his AI giant XAI, which now owns X or Twitter. He circumvented the law by installing dozens of gas powered turbines without any sort of environmental impact review or permit. His turbines are pumping out smog forming pollution, nitrogen oxides, and chemicals like formaldehyde. And no, it's not normal for anyone to be breathing any of that in. The NAACP stepped in and legally threatened Elon Musk's XAI under the Clean Air Act because their actions continue to be in violation of federal law. Memphis is just one small example of what is happening in communities across the country, and that's because Trump has become aggressively say it again. That's because Trump has been aggressively fast tracking the construction of dirty data centers. In the White House's own words, Trump is directing the government to, quote, streamline environmental reviews and permitting, end quote, for supercomputer infrastructure. Elon Musk's net worth grew to $645 billion last year, and he's not the only one benefiting. The top 10 tech founders and leaders in the US have all profited from the AI gold rush, reaching more than 2.5 trillion in combined wealth. These data centers that are so dirty, especially Elon Musk's one, the one that aforementioned, is mostly powering Grok, which is, the number one creator of child sexual abuse material in the world right now.
Is that true? Is that a true stat?
Yes, because it's fucking
Oh.
like it's on average creating. I believe it was Vice that found like once every 30 seconds to a minute is generating a picture of a child, like a naked or lewd child.
That's
Uh,
that's
and
so
and
much worse than I
and and
thought.
and that's a lot of it that's happening on like the main feed. We're not even sure what's happening. Like you're able to access Grok like just by yourself, like just you DM with Grok and get images. We don't even know everything that's being made there. We just know what people are just publicly saying at Grok. Make
Publicly
this.
posting, yeah.
Beggars belief that Elon Musk is allowed to walk the streets as a free man, as the head of like he is the purveyor of like he's literally the top purveyor of child pornography on the planet,
Mhm.
and he's just allowed to exist.
Look, cut this if you have to, but someone's got to do the thing. I think before Trump, that he's got to be the first one.
I have seen that like isn't Twitter like registered in Ireland for like tax reasons or something now? Like under Irish law, like he could be prosecuted.
Kind of though. It's a subsidiary now of XAI, which I think is based out of Texas. I
Right,
think it's
I
based
have
out
to
of.
do it.
I think it's actually based out of Austin. I fear.
Yeah,
Officially,
probably.
I don't know that the offices actually operate there. I think most of their people actually still live in Silicon Valley.
All their stuff's registered here because we have nicer corporate taxes.
Right. Some of their shit's registered in Delaware as well because it's like that state is a
Same,
credit
yeah.
card company.
Mhm.
I've met people from Delaware who are surprised when they have to pay tax on their purchases. Like they don't have sales tax in that state, and some people don't know it's any different.
You know what they called Joe Biden in the 80s and 90s, right? Like I'm not
What are they-
kidding.
what are
They
they called?
called him the senator from MasterCard.
That's
Yeah.
where it comes from. Okay.
Yeah, like and it's because of his relationship in Delaware.
Mhm.
Yeah. I just remember, I forget who said it, that actually Joe Biden's not that weird in Delaware. It's a state mostly people clipping through walls, like in a video game. But that's just because that's just because y'all don't have a proper tax structure. Delaware, we love you. We're gonna help you out. Everything's gonna be okay.
We will liberate Delaware.
We will liberate the people of Delaware and Texas from XAI. and everybody else. But yeah, that's, I mean, like, these data centers, mass approved. Fucking, I mean, we already know the climate stuff is in a bad place. Um, I mean, heck, a lot of this Greenland stuff. I'm not one to say that it's entirely like just Trump being like this savvy operator, like that's thinking of the future. He's not. I think he's pretty crazy. But part
Did you
of
see
the,
that insane letter that he sent to the Prime Minister of Norway?
yeah, that he said the reason that he can no longer think of peace is because Norway didn't give him the peace prize, which, by the
I
way,
thought it was
Norway
a
has no
joke.
power to give.
Yeah.
Well, and
Well, they do, don't they?
the like, I thought at first that he was confusing like who I thought at first he was confusing Norway and Denmark, right? Like those haven't been a single country since 1814. But no, like he's just popping off at Norway because of the Nobel Prize thing. He's saying because of that, I'm gonna go aggro in Denmark or whatever. Like it's. I mean, you're already falling into his trap, like trying to assign logic to what he's doing.
Well, he is the winner of the FIFA Peace Prize, Lenore.
That's true.
Of
Pretty
course, of
prestigious.
course.
All that to say is, I will say part of Greenland's appeal, such as it is they have a lot of rare minerals that will not be accessible until the permafrost melts. So I think part of it is just betting on, yeah, the permafrost is going to melt. I don't understand how valuable they think those are going to be in a situation where that much permafrost has melted. But you know, I'm not genius Donald Trump. I really do still subscribe to the theory that Trump thinks Greenland is a lot bigger than it is because of the Mercator projection. But
probably true. That's so funny. It's huge.
Yeah, it's so funny.
It is, yeah, it is huge. Don't get us wrong.
Well, that's the next section is Making America 1930s Germany Again, which is a little bit of a tortured chapter title, but whatever. ICE is operating like the Gestapo. It's abhorrent and horrifying and reminiscent of one of the worst periods in human history. People are being murdered, our neighbors are being rounded up, citizens are being detained because of their skin color and accent. Private contractors doing ICE's disgusting bidding have already brought in more money than expected by Wall Street. 3 in particular saw record profits: tech firm Palantir and private prison and surveillance companies Geo Group and Core Civic. The Guardian reports that, quote, Palantir saw 53% growth in revenue from U.S. government contracts in the second quarter of 2025 compared with the same period the year prior, end quote. So, yeah, I mean, he's focusing here in this article primarily on like how much money the billionaires are making. And once again, like Geo Group, Palantir, these surveillance companies, these detention facilities. I mean, here in Georgia, the Folkestone ICE processing facility, which Governor Kemp has sworn to make the biggest ICE detention facility in the nation, is entirely private.
You know, I won't be the first person to make this critique. I've seen a lot of people do it online, but the correlation to the Gestapo to the 1930s in Germany, while in a lot of ways it is apt, like it's negating the fact that they model a lot of what they do after Jim Crow South and the extermination of the indigenous people here.
Yes.
And I don't think that this guy from the NAACP is doing this on purpose. But I think when specifically like more pale colored people make that comparison, it is maybe not purposeful, but it dismisses what the US has always been. And it allows for them to continue to pretend that like Trump's escalation is fully different than just a ramping up of what's been happening here, you know, ebbing and flowing throughout the centuries. And so skipping over the fact that the Gestapo was modeled after us, I think harms the point and like the punch of the analogy.
Yeah, the better analogy to my mind is to slave catching patrols, right? In the lead up to the Civil War,
which is what our cops are already based off of.
Yeah.
Texas DPS was the Texas Rangers, which was a slave patrol. Like it is a straight line to connect these things, and pretending like we have to go to Germany to look at an example instead of just literally right in our own not that long ago histories.
Right. It's remarkable only in the funding and the brazenness. But yeah, I mean, it's critical to connect these things. You're absolutely right to this country's past and its foundation.
And I mean, I'll also say, like, yes, obviously some of them are guys like Greg Bovino are like cosplaying as Nazis. So there is also that comparison, of course. I would also, though, encourage people to look at like, look what we did in Fallujah. Like, I don't just mean the battles of Fallujah, horrifying as those were. I mean the camp system that was created afterwards, the systems of control, the forced labor system, the way that ethnicities were divided up and policed and communities turned on each other, things like that. I mean, Jen mentioned Imperial Boomerang earlier. I think that's meaningful. I think look at like the type of stuff that we have enforced in other countries for a long time, the kind of policies we have encouraged. So there's that history inside our own country, and there's that history outside our own country. But I understand the desire to say this isn't who we are. I understand where that comes from. And it comes from the people saying it typically are saying that's not who I am, it's not who the communities I'm with are, that's not the America I experience is. And that's true and good, but we need to understand the straight line through of our history, because we can't just like we can't, I mean, it's conservative to call back to the better time, right? That is an inherently reactionary thing to do. Let's return to the time when America was great. Like you don't sound much better than Donald Trump. And if we want to actually replicate those times, like VJ Prashad said on an episode with us, there's nothing wrong with saying make America great. The again part, that's where we need to have some thoughts.
Yeah, it's certainly, I think, a form of false martyrdom to say that, yeah, we lived in a place that was even the sentiment that's like, well, we didn't always get it right, but good golly darn it, we tried. Like it's so it's simultaneously a form of self martyrdom and of absolution, born from a failure to engage with our history, which again, not that our education system does such a good job of interrogating it, but like you can't just be satisfied you can't just be satisfied with being horrified at what is now.
Alternatively, though, let us also not fall into the alternative trap, which is saying, "Oh, well, it's always been bad. This is just how it." Like things can get worse, and we
Mhm.
should fight against them getting worse. And I think there is some kind of tendency online to be like smart, too clever by half, to say, "Well, the U.S. has always been like fascistic," and I'm like, yeah, but things do escalate and there are new forms. As Jen said last episode, read Blood in My Eye. What does George Jackson say? That there are different stages and levels of fascism, and different percentages of the population are going to experience it. There's going to be
Yes.
levels of intensification, and a country cannot maintain the heightened pitch of a, fucking Nazi Germany style state for long. Now, I think the Stephen Millers of the world think that with the increased technological surveillance capacity, with AI, with drones, that they can maintain that heightened pitch forever. I think they're wrong, and I think we're going to see that they're wrong. But in what way, we're going to find out.
You know what? The gods may have visited hellfire and misfortune on the people who defied them, but I'm built different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, these people out there, they have hubris. They
Mhm.
thought they were so great, and the gods destroyed them. But me, I'm better than them. Perhaps even better than the gods. Well, the last section here is called the bottom line. It's hard to see all this happen to our neighbors and to our nation. For nearly 117 years, almost half of America's 250-year existence, the NAACP has led the charge to defend civil rights and democracy in America. We were born amid widespread lynchings of Black people. We organized historic boycotts and marches through the South and beyond. We fought to end segregation in public schools by securing historic rulings like the landmark Brown v. Board of Education case, and in NAACP versus Trump in 2020. The Supreme Court sided again with the NAACP when it ruled the Trump administration's attempt to end the DACA program was arbitrary and capricious. Taking on hateful forces like the Trump administration's policy, violence is what we do. Looking forward, how we successfully organize, and then here we go. Over the next 285 days, what's left before the midterms will determine whether we can put an end to the greatest robbery in American history. It's not the first time we've gone through this. During the late 1800s, the Gilded Age, America's elites amassed extreme amount of wealth through monopolies, the exploitation of working people, and corruption. What followed was a progressive movement which ultimately led to FDR's New Deal in the 1930s, with programs that greatly strengthened workers' rights, created Social Security, and further regulated big corporations, bringing white people out of poverty. And where FDR's New Deal failed by excluding marginalized people, other movements delivered change. The Civil Rights Movement culminated in the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. People had enough and demanded something better, something more just. And this time, I believe people are fed up and demanding something better again, and that's what gives me hope. We shouldn't even have an election. Those are the words of a president who knows he's very unpopular just 1 year into his term and bound to lose Congress. Trump may be making the rich richer, but he's making the rest of us a hell of a lot more determined. If you're fed up with being robbed by Trump and the billionaire class, make each one of these remaining days count. 285, that's it, do something. And I found that to be very interesting and worth discussing.
I'm going to vote my ass off in the midterms.
God.
And to the credit, it doesn't say, let's wait till the midterms. He is arguing for organizing. He is talking about other means of resistance. But this is where this is the limitations, right? Of like even the best among liberals. I would argue that this is the best among the, this is as good as liberalism gets right here. A guy like this who is devoted his life to reforming the United States in a positive way through the liberal framework of change. And I think it's apparent in this moment. Maybe it wasn't apparent always. Maybe it wasn't apparent in like 2008, 2009, something like that, when like Obama was rising, things like that. Maybe it wasn't apparent in 2020. But it's so apparent now that this is just so radically insufficient.
Well, you have prominent Democrats coming out and passionately talking about how when we take over, we're going to make sure ICE has body cams.
Right.
And we're going to get them more training. And they really haven't said much about Maduro. I haven't heard them say anything about him recently, or like stopping the escalation in Iran, or literally anything else. So the idea of, again, I mean, obviously we should not cancel the midterms. That would be a further escalation. But the idea that if we just take the House to Democrats, something will fundamentally change is absurd at this point.
I mean, we've had so many phases of Democrat trifecta control, or even like partial Democrat control, that put the lie to that. Right. And like the people who say, well, they don't have the numbers, like, of course, yeah, I just said we see what they do when they do have the numbers. But like it speaks to such a blinkered view of what is actually possible within even like legitimate, or that's not the right word, but like even within like standard channels of political power, right? These people in Congress right now, even in the minority, could be holding up the proceedings with pointless floor votes. They could be denying this body a quorum. There's any number of disruption that they could do that, yes, perhaps risks them getting censured or fined or punished in some manner for contempt, maybe even expelled. Use that as a rallying point.
Right.
I'm sorry. Like there is a level, like when you arrogate to yourself when you say, hey, like reward us with power in the midterms, reward us with power in the next elections, and you arrogate to yourself the power and the responsibility to make change with your position, like I'm sorry, that necessarily involves a risk to your power and to your person, perhaps. And it is not a risk that any of our electeds, to my knowledge, are willing to assume.
And the reason I wanted to read this article, and not one of the many others that are significantly worse from Democrats, saying things like, we have to wait to vote, we can't wait to vote. The reason I wanted to read this is not because this is the most egregious, far from it, but rather that this shows, I think you can tell Derek Johnson's real, like, I can, through his words, his real commitment, his real desire for a better country, a better future, for Donald Trump to be defeated, for liberty and justice for all, the promise of the, Declaration and the Constitution. And I think that's what makes that's why like it makes this conversation not just about like, do we want to be, like we want better Democrats. It makes this conversation about why, like, as committed and as moral and as all that you can be, this is the limitation of that framework. And I think that's why it's like so important for us to talk about, like, we need another understanding of like how this shit needs to work all together. Because like I got to the end of that article and I was like, what do you mean the midterms? He just said he wants to cancel them. And also, who cares if the Democrats get Congress? Trump is ruling by executive order now.
Yeah,
He
it doesn't
got
even
his
matter.
one bill. Trump said he cared about one bill, and it was the one big beautiful bill. And he said once he got that passed, the funding he wanted, it didn't matter. He had fucking everything else he wanted. Now they can nibble around the edges. Don't get me wrong. They can impeach him. They won't have the votes to remove him. They can do things that are meaningful potentially. They can maybe release more Epstein files if the Department of Justice doesn't just fucking keep doing
Yeah.
what they're doing, which they probably will.
Yeah.
But like, and I'm not telling anybody how to like vote, whatever, but we have to think about like, this is obviously not sustainable. And even if there was the biggest blue wave, even if fucking Trump dies and Vance resigns and somehow Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries becomes president or whoever,
God.
like it's just a matter of time before this shit happens again. The framework is set up. Like the fascism is built into the code, right? It is there. It will reemerge. You could play whack-a-mole with it, but eventually it's going to show its face again. And it can only like you have to fundamentally change the system for this shit not to happen.
The fundamental structure of the system is what's flawed. And the idea, if you could vote in socialism, would be that they would have to rewrite the Constitution and restructure the entire setup. It's not that we just put better people into the same system.
Right. And it's lovely too. Like, I mean, you got an interview coming out on your other podcast, Jen, with someone running for Congress, right? Like
Yes.
with Greg Stoker. Like, it's a good and meaningful thing to do, and electoral interventions are important. But that's a reason that we don't. That's a reason we call for a new system. Well, if we can pull that off by winning 100% of all seats, and the capitalists let us do that, and then we rewrite the Constitution and change the structures, and no one stops us. Great. You might hear the skepticism in my voice on that one. But like my point, but regardless of your vision on how we get there, you have to acknowledge that the framework does not serve us. It does not serve normal people. It is designed to revert to this reaction. When you make America great again, when you hearken to America's past, the only thing you can pull from is this type of shit.
I just now, as we record, I just got a text saying, we wanted to make sure you saw our invitation to John Ossoff's Rally for Our Republic in Atlanta this Saturday, January 24.
Yes.
Let's
Vote
go.
your Ossoff.
Do you ever think that Ossoff and like his type think to themselves, like, why don't I get heckled more?
Right?
Warner got
Beto
heckled
is like
recently.
Ossoff Jr.
What is Beto doing these days?
Texting me and asking me for money.
Is he running again?
He is not. He is, we're going to turn Texas blue, obviously, in the midterms. And so just kind of raising money in general for Democrats in the state.
Beto O'Rourke, there's only one thing I think of every time I think of him, but I'm not sure if I want to read it on the podcast. You know what? I will. It's one of the greatest posts of all time. I apologize, listeners, for reading this. And I apologize, Lenore and Jen, but unfortunately this tweet was burned into my brain.
Go on.
It's from just a normal like mom who lives in Texas. I'm not going to say her name because she's just a lady. This is 2018 when Beto was running for the first time and like made national news. Quote, Ojeda and Avenatti as candidates are like, I can't get through it.
Michael Avenatti. There's a blast from the
Sorry.
past.
So here we go. I'm really gonna try to get through this. I'm so sorry. Are like the guy who thinks good sex is pumping away while you're making a grocery list in your head, wondering when he'll be done. Beto O'Rourke is the guy who is all sweet and nerdy, but holds you down and
I've read
makes
this.
you come until your calves cramp. It's the worst. I remember seeing that like on 2018 and like actually putting Twitter down for like 3 days.
Until your calves cramp. God.
That's so good. I'm so sorry. But just every time I think of Beto, I'm like, most iconic tweet of all time. That was like the most 2018 coded tweet, though. That was Blue Wave. That was how the blue wave people
That
were.
was like maximum Cuomo-sexual time. You
Yeah.
remember?
No, Cuomo sexual was 2020. That was like, it was when he was giving those like daily updates.
Killing
Oh,
grandmas.
right, you're right, you're right.
Yeah, back when he was going to be president.
I love just the revolving door of like Democrat ghouls who are suggested for president that don't even have to be. They don't even have to be in politics. Like, you know, Oprah had her time. Like The Rock had his time being floated as like, oh, maybe this guy should. And it's like, what do you know about their policies?
I believe that it's Cuomo's time.
Now.
I believe it's his moment.
Mm-hmm. His quoment.
It's his moment. Did you see that guy from like, I think it was a guy from Texas who flew all the way to New York to protest by himself in New York City with a sign that says "Mom Donnie is not my mayor."
Yeah,
Which
that's
is like,
Drew Pavlov or whatever his name is.
Oh, that fucking! I thought he was
Yeah.
in Australia.
oh, maybe he is.
He is, but I don't know if he was in Australia taking the picture or he came to New York.
No, he came to New York. I thought
okay,
he
yeah.
like. Someone said he was from Texas. That person's wrong. Okay,
No,
he's
he's
from Australia. That's even crazier. Yeah, like literally, he's not your mayor. That's true.
Andrew will make you quome until your calves cramp. I don't know.
Oh, that's
More.
bad. Quome.
I'm so glad we don't have a guest today. Yeah, we can't be talking like this with Talia Bott in a few days.
Watch.
I think she'd think it's funny. I've been listening to her podcast.
Well, the last thing I have on the agenda. Well, actually, did any of y'all have anything more to say on that before I get to the last thing?
On Cuomo-sexuals? No.
I will say I've been seeing more and more reports of more and more data centers getting postponed or canceled or outright shut down. Like that's been climbing as the whole AI bubble has been lurching toward like maximum like the surface tension is like shivering. I don't know when it's going to break, but like I do think there is an end in sight, at least to that particular, you know, fucking like tulip craze.
I have DM'd Ed Zitron to try to get him on the podcast. And I am going to advocate for him to get the Pulitzer once the AI bubble pops.
I mean, God knows we need more credible people winning Pulitzers these days.
Well, Derek Johnson said to do something, and I wanted to share a little bit of good news about stuff that's being done. Today, the 20th, there were walkouts and protests across the country in a lot of places. And actually here in Georgia, I saw Lakeside High School had tons of students walk out of class to demand ICE out of our communities and to defund ICE against the, and to protect immigrants. I saw UGA, GSU, Emory, Kennesaw State University, a bunch of colleges. I know this was happening all around the country. I know more in my own backyard better than other places, but I saw there were at least 800 walkouts across the country. This is not an insignificant thing. And on the 23rd, this is what I'm really looking towards. In Minnesota, there have been calls for mass strikes. This is now backed up by a number of unions. Even the AFL-CIO has given its nod towards it. And there's like local community orgs that are literally going. I saw a video today on Breakthrough News, small business to small business, asking them to please close their doors on the 23rd. Obviously they're not trying with like the McDonald's or whatever. They're just trying to get their workers not to work there. But with especially like, in immigrant communities, just to completely shut shit down. I mean, there's just signs everywhere. The unions are talking with immigration organizers. People are getting into the fight that have never been involved before. People are getting on, ICE watch patrols. People are learning community defense. There's just so much happening. And the connection, especially between labor and immigration advocacy, I think is so essential. And it's a multi-tendency situation. You've got everything from liberals to socialists, but socialists are actually quite involved on the ground, very involved. And I think that's incredibly encouraging. And I just read an Axios article that was basically like the resistance under Trump 1 knew that the best way to protest was peacefully and marching through the streets. This resistance is now turning to more underhanded tactics like strikes. And I'm like, seems like you're more worried about that one, huh? Mm-hmm. and I think that is a good sign for a, shows what they're worried about. Like as much as I will never condemn a riot. A riot is the language of the unheard. But what they fear more than that, even, is just shutting shit down. And it's the unified working class. And when we flex our muscles, they get real fucking freaked out.
Hell yeah.
That's year, you know what? That's year one. And like, you know, as awful as things have gotten, because things have certainly escalated, you know, will continue to escalate. I tend to believe that, there will be, it'll be better and worse than we think it is. You know, certainly there will be more brazen and murderous action coming from ICE and from other arms of the government, directly and indirectly. But it's been highly encouraging to see people that you wouldn't ordinarily expect out in the streets and confronting these armed agents of the state. And, you know, every instance of that helps demystify, you know, certainly ICE isn't any less dangerous with their guns and their bloodlust, but it helps demystify these people, right? You know, you can chase jackbooted thugs out of your neighborhood with sufficient force. You know, you can annoy them away, but you just have to be more dedicated, and you have to be more in tune with your community. I encourage everybody, you know, just talk to each other.
Jen, anything from you?
There are 286 days until the midterm election. I'm updating my Deadpool. I think it'll be 285 days. Day before the midterms.
That'd be crazy.
That's where I'm putting my money.
That'd be crazy. What happens if in 2024, like 2 days before the election, Trump had died? Like, does a ballot cast for Trump automatically go to Vance? What's the legal process there?
I feel like this was discussed in 2008 because McCain was pretty old and nobody wanted Sarah Palin to be president.
I know, like there have been cases where, I say cases, it could have been just like once or twice, where a dead man did win an election in this country. But that's just one person running for one office.
Yeah.
I assume.
But enough about Joe Biden, am I
right? But like, yeah, I assume, like, because you don't vote for like one person for president, you vote for a ticket. So I assume that just, you know, the other guy on the ticket would take over.
Well, whoever is on the ticket in 2028, later in this year in 2026, we want to reach across the aisle and just say congratulations to Usha Vance and her personal trainer on their new child.
And her
or whatever, or the pool boy.
It wasn't me. It was not me.
Yes.
I am not her personal trainer.
Or the pool boy or the mailman or whoever it was. So we will be readily awaiting the birth of Charlie Kirk Jr. Vance.
You know what? Like, I'm skeptical about if like Kalshi or any other fucking, like, you know, betting parasitical site is taking bets on whether Donald Trump sees the end of his term. I wonder what the pools are going to be like on the new Vance baby's name. Any ideas?
I'm not kidding that like Charlie is a genuinely like likely name.
I think that's boy too. Yeah, they announced it's a boy, so Charlie or Charles, you know, church it up a bit.
Charles Entertainment Vance.
Honestly, it could be Donald. They could name him Don.
Ooh,
Vance is that much of
a brown nose.
Yeah, Trump doesn't respect him. Well, you know, Kalshi makes me think, doesn't it suck to be on the left because you are always right and you're not allowed to bet about it?
I'm allowed to bet about it.
No, I'm kidding.
I mean, you might just get fucking like rug pulled anyway, right?
I just hate to work with Poly Market.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the other one, yeah.
Poly Market and Kalshi.
It sounds like a cereal.
I mean, they didn't pay out that one bet on like Maduro. Yeah, they like didn't pay out on that, right? Like they can just like unilaterally make decisions about whether or not the criteria were actually met. I'm just saying, like, the odds on Jesus coming back last year got pretty high. It was a pretty safe bet toward the end of the year. So, you know, just keep an eye on that.
Okay.
Wait,
Like actually,
Usha
like
and JD's child might be.
oh shit.
I'll do some investigation and I'll let y'all know next week. Bye.